welcome everyone, Mr. Ian, Uncle Creepy McCall. Um, Go ahead and just let us know where do you want to start, brother? Where do you want to, as far as the journey to be the man you are today? How did we get into that?
Oh man, so it all started. I was born here in Southern California, Orange County, born at Hoag Hospital in Newport Beach. Grew up, in South Orange County, Laguna Beach, Dana Point, San Clemente, in relative paradise. It's California Riviera. It's amazing.
Oh yeah.
And I grew up on the beach. You know, well-to-do family of beautiful, beautiful people. Not the type of upbringing you would expect from a savage. Forever I always put myself out there as a predator. I'm a predator in the sense where I climb into a cage in my underwear and I fuck people up for blood money.
Yes, sir.
I have to hunt these other individuals and psychoanalyze them and obsess over this up and coming event where I have to take this person's lunch money.
Yeah.
It's not a breeding ground for little savages like that most of the time. Now, it bred two world champions in my group of friends, myself and Shane Del Rosario, who's
Yes,
the kickboxing
yes,
champion. We grew up on the beach, but our beach was right below Ritz-Carlton. So again, you wouldn't think anything crazy is happening there. It's the surf culture. Saltwater people like to fist fight, and there's a lot of pro surfers there. Amazing break. And proud, Dana Point town sort of kids, and it's ridiculous when you look back on it as a grown up, and I just shake my head and think, what is wrong with me?
Oh yeah, I think everyone has those moments. Yeah.
Yeah, we took it a little far. We were on the news for being a gang, and most, it wasn't a real gang. We just liked to fist fight, and I was one of only two people in the group that was selling drugs. Or had guns or anything crazy. Like I was crazy, not them. We just like to fight.
You don't have to go too into detail, but I mean, when we're talking drugs, are we talking drugs or are we talking marijuana? Because I really don't consider marijuana any sort of drug.
I've been in cannabis my whole life. I started smoking weed when I was 8 years old, and
wow.
that's insanely young. I mean, my daughter's 8, and I look at her.
Oh yeah, I have an 11-year-old. That's mind blowing to think he's smoking pot. Yeah.
And of course, I was stealing it from my dad. He was in cannabis in the 70s, we'll say. And it was just around it the whole time. And that breeds a criminal element, of course, because, all those rich kids had to buy drugs somewhere, but it was pills and of course cocaine. I never sold heroin or meth or those two, but, ecstasy, whatever I could get my hands on, that would make money. I'm a businessman. That's what I always was. And I was naughty back then, and of course I'm still in cannabis. I actually started getting more into cannabis recently. I stopped before my daughter was born because 9 years ago this was illegal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so much has changed in the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, so I even got my house got raided. I got put in jail when I was in the UFC. I was the best in the world. The DEA raided my house it was like a year too late, and I was like, "You guys are late. Sorry."
Yeah,
I make a lot of money now fighting. But anyways. So I was a crazy kid. I was also went as far as like robbing other drug dealers around the area because I was the most dangerous one. I was like, what are they gonna do? It was a
tough guy in Orange County.
Yeah, it was a weird mindset, and it was. Now that I look back, I'm like, that's gross. But whatever. It is what it is.
Did that have anything to do with your daughter? I know sometimes I think about stuff like that, and I think, man, when I was a kid. Or like my son's 11. I try to remember what was I seeing when I was 11. I knew kids that were smoking weed in like 6th grade and things like that. I'm like, wow, blows my mind now that I have a kid.
I stopped doing that before she was born, and plus I was already world champion. I was making money. I had a bright future, and I was like, no, this is real life. Time to grow up, Peter Pan. And I did it, and then. Pretty recently, because I retired 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I took a year off to be a personal trainer at Lifetime Fitness, which was a beautiful, very fun time.
Yes, sir.
For me, of course, being like a boy toy my whole life, I fell into this weird sort of cycle of like just being like a new toy to people, to all these rich people at this beautiful facility. And plus I'm not a personal trainer. I mean, nothing against that. Those people deserve way more than they get. And I have a lot of friends that do it, but it just wasn't for me. I'm more in education, and I wanted to get back to martial arts. But anyways, took a year off.
Into the coaching aspect of it? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I'm a performance coach, and I deal with the science side of psychedelics and how they can help you perform better in life, just as a whole, not even as an athlete or a high level performer. Like I like to make it sound fancy on my social media. I'm the world's first psychedelic integration coach for high level athletes and performers. It doesn't matter who you are. I'll work with you. That's don't. But I like making things sound fancy.
Yeah, you got to kind of put up some of that persona on the social media. You just got to, different words and things like that makes you sound a little bit more,
Yeah, exactly. And, now that's the role I've taken on. I had a friend of mine when I retired, J.J. Thomas is a famous snowboarder. He was a Olympic bronze medalist in snowboarding. He's the U.S. coach for the Olympics, and Shaun White attributes his new renaissance of being Shaun White, being the best, to JJ. It's crazy. Okay. And I'm like, wow. And he's just been my friend for a long time. And I knew he was just a good buddy. And he called me one day. He goes, "Oh, hey, I hear you're retiring." Because I used to date his friend, or his girlfriend's best friend. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm on suicide watch right now. So what do you got for me, buddy?" Not doing hot right now. And I was a mess, and he just walked me through step by step of, you're going to go through these 5 or 6 steps, and it's going to suck really bad. It's going to be hard, but then you're going to come out on the other end of it a better person, a happier person, an educator, a coach, and you're going to accomplish way more than you ever thought you'd do with your fighting. No, and it's true. Good.
Yeah,
I'm saying everything he said happened to a T, and I'm like, wow, you're smart, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I have some friends that have suggested that type of treatment, if you will. Going back to, though, you growing up, was that something you were into at that point? Like, we're going back to you and your teens. You're selling. You're the I don't want to say the bad guy, but you're out there, right, in the streets of the OC. And
I was the bad guy. I was the bad guy.
Okay. But was psychedelics even in your head at the time? Was that something that you just kind of, you knew about, but thought that might be a little bit over the edge, a little bit too far, you know what I mean, out of your grasp?
Sorry. So I had been into psychedelics since I was like 13, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now you are the first time I think I took LSD with my friends. Like, we were in someone's parents were gone, and some giant ass mansion out here in Orange County. And we had, like, I think it was either we had some sort of babysitter, a family member or a maid or whoever was watching us for the weekend. And of course we want to take acid and do this. It was like the real Lord of the Flies sort of scenario. And I think at that age, up until your late 20s, early 30s, you're not going to get the real benefit out of psychedelics if you are not doing the work behind it, the setting, intention, the integration. If you don't know anything about the education behind it, you most likely will not get anything truly positive. It could change your mindset. You'll have a honeymoon period for a bit. As you get a little older and you see how life really is, because in your 20s, you have no idea. You get, like, it's a weird benchmark of 30, and I look at all the people over 30, my guy friends, and they're like, things change, right? I'm like, shit, you guys were right. And then 35 is even different, and apparently 40 is way different. And I did psychedelics from then until now, and I didn't start getting real benefit out of it until my late 20s. And DMT was a huge catalyst for me to just have the overall understanding, the big picture of going, like, okay, this has to change. Like, all of it has to change. And then so go ahead.
When growing up, when I was a teen, just in high school and things like that, I knew it was around, but no one had ever, not so maybe like two or so years ago, no one had ever come up to me with the idea of, hey, let's try mushrooms, right? But back then it was, let's try mushrooms and we're gonna get fucked up. You know what I mean? That was the whole point of it as a teen. It wasn't until only a few years ago that I've dealt with a lot of anxiety the past, like, honestly, man, I let it take me for like 7 years of just like being a slave to it. I know, trust me, I know. But I have a good friend, and it's funny because it happened around the same time. I have two friends who don't know each other, but as I was explaining my situation to them and my mindset, they both were like, look, man, you need to try mushrooms. You need to do this. Like, this is going to help you. And I have one friend who tells me, look, he does it, I think, twice a year. But the week of him doing it, he says he'll journal and just write down, I want to know this about myself, you know? So they brought it to me as like, look, this is a learning experience for yourself. This isn't just a, hey, let's go party. This is, we're learning about you, and you want to learn things about yourself. This is how we got to do it. It's kind of a guided trip, if you will. So that was the first time that I ever got taught to like that.
And you sitting in circle, doing that with your friends, especially journaling. I don't journal enough at all. Where's my journal? I need to do that today, actually. It's really, I mean, okay, so now that I'm in this, and I'll preface with this story, okay? When I met my girlfriend, my current girlfriend, I was hosting a party. I had, again, that lifestyle that I was in was being, you know, party boy, being boy toy. Like, I was hosting parties. These rich people would have me over to their house to make them tea, to make them mushroom tea.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, I was like, okay, there's constantly so many beautiful women at these parties. And I was just trying to have fun and get laid, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I'm like, it's like everyone trusts me and knows that I'm a good dude, and like I'm having fun, and they want this sort of stuff. And it's just, I was having fun. That's all. No, that was before I met my current girlfriend. It's like a year ago, you know. And I had already come to the conclusion, like, I can't do this anymore. I'm researching psychedelics because they've saved my life, and I realize I'm doing it wrong. Like, I realize there's not. I know there needs to be ceremony, and there's not. I'm the only one doing a ceremony with myself. There's no intention. There's no integration. There's the setting. The mindset's there, and I would start to walk people through it, but then I met her, and she showed me her phone, and she goes, we need to talk. And of course, my friend introduced us, and I was like, I met her, and we were like, hi, we need to talk. Yes, nice to meet you. Well, you see this little Decrim logo. The decriminalization of California, or there's a Decrim Nature out of Oakland. She goes, yeah, you know what you're doing is wrong, right? And I was like, yeah, I know. You know, like, we started just chatting, and she brought me into the world of integration. Really, she brought me around that. Now I have a job with Decrim. Now I have a study going with the UFC with suicide and unlimited sciences. Yeah, the UFC invites me out to the fights. Instead of me having to text these people I've known my whole life, going, hey, can I get tickets?
Yeah.
They text me and go, hey, you should be here. You need to talk to everybody. Like,
that's awesome. Yeah, it's good to see, you know, how far we're going. And I tell people all the time, just, you know, a year ago, this was looked at as nothing, and now with I think they're testing people for dementia and
oh man,
other stuff like that. Yeah.
Just today alone, I've had 5 people contact me, or I guess over the night or whatever, about this, who have, whether it's bipolar, agoraphobia. I mean, we deal with sex addiction and any sort of addiction, with the trauma, the actual healing of the brain itself. But it goes back to people knowing what to do, or they know that there's a process behind it. So that, like you said, the journaling before, and for us, if we're going to help lead someone through this, or help them through a trip, it's homework before. You can't just go right into it. There's homework before, and then there's setting and intention. So you have mindset. Where are you? Who are you with? Music, that sort of stuff. And then intention. What are we looking to get out of this process? Because harm prevention is huge. That right there is it sounds simple, but man, and especially for doing the homework we give you, because we'll understand you on a level you don't even really understand, archetypal things and all this psychology.
So this is an entire process. This is much bigger than just, hey, take these and call me in the morning.
We have to negate the harm. That we have to have the harm prevention, because of course you can go to Coachella, be drinking booze and take them, I'm going to get faded, and have this incredible experience and not even do any integration after. The chances of it happening are much, much smaller if you do that. And with alcohol, I don't even drink alcohol.
Yeah,
I mean,
I drink.
I mean,
I'm not huge. Yeah, I'm
it's
not.
you know what? My mom used to work for Robert Mondavi Wine. She's a chef,
Mm-hmm.
and she used to work for Robert himself.
Oh,
Um, and so I grew up around food and wine, and you know, again, having a wealthy family, nice bottles of alcohol every dinner, and just we appreciate it. I'll have a glass here and there, but that's becoming more and more less frequent. Um, and I'm just not into alcohol. But back to the psychedelics. If you do that homework, and then you get into it, and you go through it, and there's breath work, meditation, even if yoga, movement stuff you can do, and then after you sit back in circle, you talk, and you have someone like ourselves, an integration coach you can talk to, weekly, daily, really whatever you need or can afford, I guess, or you can join an integration circle like South Orange County Psychedelic Integration Circle. I made it wordy for a reason.
yeah.
I post information on there. It's on Facebook. I post information on there daily, a lot of. There's 10 articles almost a day. You don't have to read them all, obviously, but pick and choose whatever speaks to you. There's stuff for women only, men only, the psycho-spiritual, that Jesus and the Bible, Muhammad. Um, it doesn't matter. I post all of it because everyone needs their type of healing.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean,
Everyone learns different. Yeah.
and that's why we created that integration circle, because it's a larger integration circle, which usually they're small, but I want a big platform for people to bring in other guest speakers, not just myself or someone in my team. You know, I can bring in totally randoms that I just appreciate, pay them to come out, have them speak for us, have a few people share their stories. And then after that, we can say, look, if there's Tuesday nights after this, or Wednesday nights, or Thursday, whenever it is, we're going to have a men's group, a women's group, a psycho-spiritual group, a performance group with me, with sports, whatever it is. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I will personally make sure to facilitate and also have people that I know can have the level of care, give you the level of care that we can in my team. Because
Yeah.
there's the level of care right now in psychedelics is here. And I'm like, guys, this is dog shit. This sucks. Yeah. Like there's people who are selling snake oil and they have no credibility outside of these people are crooks. And I'm not going to call them out personally, but you know who you are and what you're doing is wrong. And I can't get mad at you because I was doing it responsibly for a while. But at least I'm doing the work to make it better, because we need to just lift that bar and just go look at it. If I'm going to give you a service, it's going to be the Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah,
that's what I'm using personally. You know,
yeah,
so that's only what I'm.
It sounds like you're bringing a level of comfort into this too, because I know myself, 99% of me never trying this is the fear of, you know, you get those tales of what if I have a bad trip, you know. But if like I said, hearing my two friends talk to me about, like, look, man, this is not just for this reason. This is for more than just let's trip. This is more than that. So hearing those people talk and hearing you, you know, having something set up, like, you know, homework to do before and people to talk to and making sure the settings, I'm sure, especially now, there are a lot of people who, you know, there's a lot of people who just a year ago were totally anti-CBD, and now they know more about CBD, and now they're like, hey man, you got any of that CBD? And I have a few friends, so I know that this is going to move fast, and with the amount of science that they're now putting behind it, there's going to be a whole bunch more. But I wanted to ask you, because I have more about that. I want to ask you a little bit more, but I want to get back into you on the mean streets of OC. What got you into the fighting? This is what I figure, right? This is just judging by the tales I've heard. I'm assuming some guy challenged you at a gym. You went in there, kicked his ass, and thought, hey, maybe I hang around, get some coaching, something like that.
No. I've been doing martial arts since I was 4.
Ooh.
I get obsessed with things like psychedelics, and I like with martial arts. I got obsessed with it. I became the best in the world. That was the point, and I did it.
Yes, sir.
And of course, there's not a competition in psychedelics, but I'm busting my ass to at least be one of the hardest workers in psychedelics, because we'll get back to that later. I'm just trying to keep up with these intellectuals. I'm trying to keep up with these intellectuals, and it's fucking exhausting.
Oh, I bet, man. I bet, yeah. I can imagine.
Physically, I've been able to keep up with anybody or be better than everybody. And now I'm not on even ground. They're way better than me, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so hard. But anyway,
what do you get into it for? I'm assuming was it like Taekwondo, karate, things like that?
It was I started with karate, and then I got into kung fu. I liked that better because it was more violent. And I just saw especially in the 80s, 90s karate. Oh my god, it was just but it was bullshit. It was fucking bullshit. And then the UFC was created, and it was like, this is where we're gonna figure out what really works. And I was already watching that, and I was learning some sort of grappling jiu-jitsu in my kung fu school, but we didn't compete. My teacher always, because I got in a lot of fights as a kid, like even from 5. I got kicked out of like 5 private schools here in Orange County, strictly because kids would lip off and I would beat them up. I was tiny, and that was my defensive mechanism, because they were always
even at that young age, you had that taste for blood that just
because everyone around me always said, like, look, you're tiny. I was so small. I'm still so small. I just weigh the amount of a normal adult now for once in my life. So my dad, my brothers were like, if anyone messes with you, you strike first. And even my sifu in kung fu said, look, you have a box around you. It's a red zone. If anyone steps into that red zone, you have my permission to do what you have to do. He goes, but remember, your parents aren't going to deal with you. They're going to send you to me, and I'm going to punish you through hard work and through, and whatever the fuck you would torture me with. So I still got in a lot of trouble, but whatever. I have a high pain threshold. So with the fighting, I got into that, and then I watched UFC, and I just wanted to be a fighter. And I saw this gym's opening, I'm going there. And I went from there. I mean, this was Extreme University, which people don't even know about. There, I went from there to Next Generation with Chris Brennan and Jeremy Williams, and then they had a split there, and I was bouncing around. And then, I was all over it. And then they tried to get me to fight professionally when I was 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
And mind you, I was at the beach or just in life, I was beating up grown men when I was like 15 years old, 14 years old. And I was under 100 pounds, and I was pistol whipping grown men who thought they were tough at the beach.
Is this with the specific kung fu karate background, or you had already started to get into more Muay Thai, boxing, things like that?
Yeah, that was around 14, 15 is when I hit that sort of stuff. And and I was advancing in grappling and wrestling very quickly. So I had somewhat of kickboxing, but it was and just take these grown men down, and you would just see this little creature end up on some guy's back, and I'm just like, you're unconscious, sleep him, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And it was entertaining for my older friends, because it was like, some big college douchebag, like, oh, what's up, and I'm just like, they like, fight him. I'm like, hi, let's, sort of thing. It was really, it was bad, but the people around me saw, like, oh, okay, I was the prodigy sort of kid in the group. And then I didn't fight till I was 18, but it was right out of high school. Hey, you want to go to Hawaii and fight a man? And I did, and won. And I got punched by a man for the first time, a man who could really punch for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
That sucked. It was fun.
McCall? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like crack. It was a Hawaiian #1, so they punched so hard. And number 2, he had won like 2 or 3 boxing titles in the Navy. So he could crack for sure.
Yeah, sure.
So from there it was okay. I didn't know this yet, but I had already ruined my NC2A status by fighting professionally right out of high school. But I went to college. I wrestled for half a season in the JC because I had already thrown away I had screwed up in high school. Even though I had rides to like all kinds of colleges, Stanford, Lehigh, Iowa was looking at me, San Francisco, bunch of San Luis Obispo. So I went to a JC. My family all went to San Luis. I went to SLO in Cal Poly, in San Luis Obispo, and my hair in my nose.
Are we getting rid of this? Are we not doing this anymore?
No. It's just in the beard. My girl's like that.
I got it. Okay.
So yeah, when I went up to San Luis Obispo, I was I had already known some wrestlers up there, but I got up there, and Chuck Liddell and Antonio Banuelos is my best friend.
Okay.
And he was, he was always training at the pit with Chuck Liddell and John Hackelman and Glover Teixeira.
Yes, sir.
And, just that was right before everything blew up. So they just said, hey, you're here now, you're hanging out with us. And I became the little brother of the group. And, they helped me blossom into the fighter I was. Chuck was always like, listen, you're going to be a world champion one day. Antonio's a world champion. And you're 19 and you are giving him the best look in the gym.
Okay.
It was just expected. They knew it was going to happen. And sure, I faltered along the way with my drug addiction and my sex addiction and just my crazy behaviors. But, I was already pro, and I fought, every so often until as a hobby, more or less. And then, I turned into the person I am, the fighter I was, I should say.
When did you come back down and get into Oyama? Did you ever consider Oyama like to be your home gym? I know you were there often.
That was my home gym.
Okay.
I lived in Slow for a year, but I was always back there. That's my happy place. That was just where my best friends were. That's where it was there in Las Vegas, to be honest. We were flying from all three, from Vegas to LA, Slow, and just in this constant clusterfuck of just partying for so long. It was wild. But we would also travel the world. We had a lot of fun. But no, I joined with Colin when I was 19 as well, just as more or less kind of splitting time with the two. And then when I moved back down here, I was with him permanently. And if I was traveling, he knew I was in good hands traveling up to John Hackleman Pitt or
okay. That's actually something I always try to touch on with people. I'm really big in loyalty to gyms and things like that, but I'm also really huge on listen. Everyone has something that they can teach you. So to see, I see a lot of the majority of the newer fighters, they're more athletes. They're kind of, I don't want to say they're gym hopping, but they're learning certain things from this gym, and this gym's teaching them a certain thing. I'm really big on everyone's got something to teach you, right? This guy might teach you a jab. This other guy might teach you that same jab, but with a little bit of a tweak,
Right.
Things like that. So would you agree? Are you, as long as you got a good relationship with the coaches, hey, they're okay with you, doing your grappling elsewhere? I mean, you guys got, or Oyama's got solid grapplers there right now.
Oh, yeah. And the thing with Colin was I helped him along with it, which was letting in other coaches, because he's grumpy. He's, and the thing is he's created how many world champions, in kickboxing and MMA. He's got Tito Ortiz, Rampage Jackson, Carla Esparza, myself. Chito Vera's looking amazing, even though
Chito's looking great. I think Smolka's out of that gym, I think, now.
You got Smolka, Alex Perez.
Oh, yeah.
There's a bunch of you. In kickboxing, you got Shane Del Rosario, Jared Lara, Jed Lara, Romeo Donza, probably one of the best kickboxers the U.S. has ever seen. Even though he fought at 112 pounds, so no one will ever know his name. But
yeah,
there's a lot of good people out of there. And for a long time, you had Jiva Santana in jiu-jitsu, and most people don't know who he is, but he's one of the greatest jiu-jitsu practitioners ever. And if you're a Brazilian guy, and you're big in jiu-jitsu, they go, "Oh, Jiva." They would always see me rolling. They'd be like, who's your coach? You look pretty good, that Jiva, or that Brazilian bravado, And I go, oh, because I've been around them my whole life. I'm like, oh, Jiva Santana. And they go, oh, it's a Jiva. He's just so nice. He's just so good. He's armbar. I'm like, yeah. Fucking beat it, nerd. But I've always made sure I've been with the best people. And my wrestling coach has been Daryl Christians forever. And not him, it's the Holiday Brothers and Sheldon Kim and just these amazing people in my life that I've always had as coaches. Strength and conditioning coach, I've been with one guy because he knows how it works. And Corey Beasley at Fight Camp Conditioning, breath work. But with my breath work, I work with Casper Vandermeulen. With mind coaching, I work with Vinny Shorman. I make sure to put the best people in my life, and I offer them to my team. I'm like, guys, this is who I work with. I'm really good at this, figuring this stuff out. So I make sure everyone has a chance to work with the same people.
Yeah, I've followed Beasley for a while, and just he's one of the examples I show to people. Like, man, look what this man has done with his garage alone, and like the different types of functional type of training that he does. I remember, I don't want to say I was new to the sport, but I was having more of a desire to learn more about it, learn more of the fighters, you know, not just these top guys, but kind of see. And I remember watching you shake those big barrels around, right? I think I've seen you a few times with the towel. Yeah, with the towel shaking, and it's like, who would think that? But it's got function to it, you know? So the science behind the training, now it's leaps and bounds from what it used to be, you know?
Science with me has always been huge. I mean, I'm dating a scientist.
Oh, nice.
She's been a scientist for 25 years. My best friend growing up is a physics professor at USC. You know, I have friends that are biochemists. There's just a lot of, I like understanding things at that level. And I ask a lot of questions, and I can absorb information at a high rate. So it's good. And I don't know. It's just an obsession that's always been a big thing with me. And whether it's, you know, figuring out my VO2 max, or, you know, heart rate monitor, you know, heart rate variability stuff, or there's just a lot, you know, a lot of stuff that I know fighters train way too hard. And I'm just trying to help people see, look, at you train smarter, not harder.
Yes.
And also, you know, protect your brain. That's why I deal in psychedelics, because they're specifically psilocybin, because I know the healing potential and benefits of it. So, and protective benefits and performance benefits. So it's like, this is just what I'm trying to give to the world.
Yeah, I growing up, for me, it was you know, hell weeks and 2-a-days, and I use that again as an example of, man, just, and it wasn't even that long ago, you know, maybe 5 years ago, you know, these athletes were training 2-3 times a day and not really so much rest days, and we have so much behind recovery now, you know, that you learn to take that time for your body to rest and for your body to heal, and you do active recovery and things like that, just to keep moving, but not pushing yourself, like you said, working smarter and not harder.
Yeah, the athletes will push themselves. So, I mean, my resting heart rate is like 35, just naturally. And once it would start to get under 30, because I would do the omega wave monitor every morning for a while, and I would send it to my coach, and he would see it and go, okay, you're not working today. You need to sleep. You need to rest, or you need to just go, hey, take your daughter somewhere. You know, like. So that smart coaches need to hold people accountable, because a lot of coaches will just pound you into the ground. They will beat the hell out of you, make you help beat your hell out of yourself, and that's what we're used to. That's how we work. It's just that's okay with us, and we need to be able to be the ones in charge of these young individuals. We need to be able to tell them, hey, look, I don't want to see your face in the gym today, or if you come coach, you know, but you're not going to hold pads. You're not going to do anything. Like, even just being around that energy of the high energy of the gym, I mean, that sort of stuff needs to be taken into consideration. You know, that will up your cortisol levels.
Oh, yeah.
Just simple things like that, where we need to get these people in, you know, hot immersion, cold immersion, the right nutrition and supplementation, timing of things, breathwork, meditation, yoga. Even yoga can be way too much. Hot yoga is way too much on an off day.
How do you,
you know, it's just,
how do you deal with the younger, and I don't know if this is just a cycle of, as I get older, I don't understand more of the youth. You know what I mean? I know my grandpa probably thought of me when I was younger, like, what's this kid doing? But how do you deal with those know-it-all type of, yeah, you tell me this, but I know what to do? You know, were you ever in that phase growing up, that look, or you had coaches telling you what to do, but hey, you knew that you do you and you succeed, so why take advice from somebody? You know what I mean?
No. I've always been under the mindset of I trust me. I've always been coachable my whole life, and that's one thing. And that's not to say that I did not listen, because I didn't listen a lot, but that was me just being naughty and just going like, you can't tell me what to do. Of course you know better, but I'm gonna go out and party the night before a fight, or I'm gonna go. You know, of course I'm gonna invite my ex-girlfriend out to Vegas for my fight. Duh, that's a great idea. You know, like just dumb shit that younger individuals do. And I had a coach, again, Corey Beasley, said this one day, and he goes, hey, I want to see you fail. I love you, but I want to see you fail, because I want to see how you come back from it. And it's right. As a coach, I want to see you fail. Sure, it would be great to see a stellar performance every time and be this undefeated individual, but in MMA, we've shown it's okay to lose. It is okay to lose. It creates a better story almost, you know. Because look at Floyd Mayweather. He's perfect. He's perfect. He's one of the best ever, if not the best ever. And his story sucks. He's a piece of shit. He's a fucking moron when it comes to normal life.
Yeah.
But he's a genius. He is, you know. And again, exactly. But like, he's a shitty dude, or at least he was. Maybe he's changed. He seemed. I'm sorry. I'm gonna put this out there. He seems like he's changed for the better.
Okay.
But there's still a lot of shitty behind it. And I'm just like, I don't. It's just.
Yeah, there's always.
There's always a story you don't see.
Yeah. There's always something behind. Let's go back to you're at Oyama. When do they throw that first UFC bout? Did you get any pro fights before under any like King of the Cage or Tachi Palace?
Oh, with UFC?
Yeah, like did you go through any pro fights before the UFC, or would they just throw you right in there?
Okay. No. You have to. They came to me. I became the best in the world before UFC had the weight class. I was the champion. They came in, and we had a tournament to figure out who the new champ was. But I was the guy at that point. Mm-hmm. They contacted me and said, "Hey, listen, we see what you're doing at Tachi because Tachi's hollowed ground for MMA. I mean, that's where WEC started. Mm-hmm. They in UFC watches, and they saw I was on this run. I just beaten the best guy in the world." And the title was next. And they said, if you keep putting on the performances you're doing, we're going to build before Conor was around, they were like, we want you to be the lightweight guy. You already know everybody. You know, people like you. You're marketable. So, you know, I put on a show, and then they invited us in. And, you know, we got a good bang for buck the first time. And I'm sure, outside of what happened in the first fight, me getting screwed or whatever, that's besides the point. I mean, this was serious. And we were going in to try and create something new, and I was poised to be the star. You know,
are you talking about the first fight with Demetrius?
Demetrius, yeah.
Oh man, I was screaming. I was screaming at my TV. I remember you were out on top, pumping up the crowd, and I'm screaming like, "Let's go!" I remember that day watching that fight. Yeah.
And I mean, when Uncle Dana pulls you aside before a fight and goes, "Hey, listen, kid. People are talking a lot of shit on this whole division, and you need to go out there and don't be a flash in the pan. Make him remember you." And I did, but it just went wrong after that. You know, few people can say they know the exact moment, and everyone else has seen this moment on TV. Mm-hmm. The exact moment where your life goes to shit, and it's no one else's fault.
Were you?
I let that happen.
Yeah, and were you still keeping up with the drugs and alcohol while you're training?
No. Well, okay. I was on pills from 14 to 34. I'm 36 now. I just turned 36 the other day. I retired on my 20s. I retired on my 34th birthday. Mm-hmm. Because when I was snorting OxyContin. Oh, fucking wow. 10 minutes before I went out and got knocked out by Horiguchi in Japan, headlining an event in the Japan Arena. But the one time I became sober was a year or two, whatever it was. And I became sober. I became the best in the world. So at that moment, I was dealing with a crazy broken marriage and my child being born, and just it was a nightmare. My ex-wife pulling a knife on my sister-in-law in Australia the night before that fight, right after weigh-ins, in front of everybody. Like, life was crazy. Yeah, I let that moment where I got screwed with that decision as the point to start doing drugs again, and I spiraled out of control. I mean, I got to fall not just from making it as a pro. I fell from the not just good, not just great. I beat one of the best guys in the world, and I fell from that status. It was a long fall, and it sucks, but it is what it is. I look at it this way. Demetrius, at that point, used me as a catalyst to become the best in the world, to become one of the greatest of all time. And I look at myself at that point, and of course, I would have made way more money than him. I would have been way more famous. I would have been. I'm not saying I would have been on the Conor level, maybe.
Yeah, you're more marketable though. I would say so.
I would have. Would I have been able to handle that as the person I was? I don't think so. To be honest, I was barely able to handle the amount of fame and money I made. and craziness. You know, the life I had. I was traveling the world, getting paid a bunch of money to travel around and teach martial arts and just do appearances and just, you know, coming with the attention. I mean, I'm an attention whore. I always have been. And the women and the partying was just crazy. You know, it was the perfect opportunity for me as an individual to do exactly what happened and just basically keep the high level of performances I could do, but falter. You know, moments of flashes of brilliance, but that's it.
Now, what around what time in your career was the passing of Shane? And were you and him? I mean, I followed your Instagram and his Instagram for quite some time. I know you guys were friends, but I don't know like the caliber. Did that affect you at all?
Oh,
I know it's a surprise for everyone.
He was my best friend. He was my roommate. He was helping me raise my daughter.
Oh wow!
You know, like when my ex-wife, she had to go away for a bit. My daughter was 1. You know, she's 1 year old, and my best friend says, "Hey, I'm getting a new house. You know, you need a place to live, right? You need someone to help you with her." And I said, "Of course." He says, "All right. Well, it looks like we're raising a little girl." So him and some other big ass Hawaiian guy, a Rich Cho from the matchmaker at Bellator. We all moved in together, and you know, Hawaiians are some of the best people on the planet. Like as far as family goes, just people in general. But they're so family oriented. And I would come home from training, and you'd have this little baby girl on. You know, Shane would be passed out. You'd have a little tiny baby girl on his chest. You know, and or Rich would be watching her. His girlfriend, or currently wife now, they have 2 children. So it was a good place. But you know, when he passed, was it 6 years ago now? Yeah, 6 years ago now. You know, I woke up to him. You know, I woke up to screams. Someone else, people thought I found him because we just didn't want our other friend to have to deal with it. But someone else found him. They were out partying all night, and my friend passed out, woke up, and found him and screamed. And you know, men don't scream like that. Fighters don't scream like that. And I can remember it extremely vividly. And I pulled him out of the bathroom. I gave him CPR. Luckily, we lived right next to Hoag Hospital where I was born, and they were there within minutes. And you know, that was a very hard. I mean, there's been some hard situations in my life. You know, my daughter getting sick at 2.5 years old, myself going through some of the things I've been through, you know, physically, whatever. But you know, him dying was. And I've had a lot of friends die in my life. Him dying and me going through that was really that was hard, man. It's still hard, you know, especially having our group of friends who we grew up with turned on me, called me a murderer. Like I wasn't even with him that night. I was with my girlfriend and my daughter upstairs, you know. Or no, sorry, my daughter wasn't in the house. I was with my girlfriend at the time, and I became a recluse for a while. You know, I was alone. The only people I saw were at the gym. I had a girlfriend that lived up in Reno at the time, or outside of Reno by Tahoe, and I was always there. I was always home or there, always training. I was miserable, you know. It was hard, you know. Like it was. I didn't even get to go to my own best friend's funeral because of that. Because I knew that if I did, it would cause drama. I'd end up beating up somebody, and probably get my ass jumped by all my old friends or arrested. Who knows? You know, I just
sounds like you made the right choice staying home. This was and I can't remember the dates. Was this before the first Demetrius fight? Was this?
No. This was after. This was
okay. So this was already you're kind of feeling down. Like you said, you're on that spiral, and then does this hit as like right in the middle of things, or was this maybe you were making some progression, and then you know?
This was right in the middle. I had just torn my hip and my groin. Or no, wait, sorry, was that after? No, so that was that. Oh shit! What was that? Oh no, I was going through hand surgery. You see, my hand doesn't work.
I've seen it. Yeah,
I had a couple. I ended up fighting with this, and this was. There's 3 surgeries, 2 infections. You know, going through that sort of stuff, and so I was working out still a lot. Shane had a lot of hand injuries too, so we were both always injured. You know, we were both always injured. You know, he got a car injury, he got an injury from a car accident that threw his back out, and that really spiraled his career out of control. So we were both, you know, indulging in pain medicine a lot, way too much, both of us spiraled out of control together, to be honest. It was a shit show. Sure, he had a heart attack, but I mean, he had a prior condition called long QT syndrome, but that was brought on by partying. I mean, I can't not say it anymore because it's part of my story and it's part of me helping out everyone else so they don't go through this. So I'm telling you.
Yeah. So let's move past that. How do we bounce back from Demetrius, that first fight? Is there, I mean, now that you're looking back at it, do you feel like there was a bounce back, or do you feel like it was just efforts to just try to make yourself feel like, hey, I'm back in it? Were you ever able to fall back in love with it?
The sport?
Yes, sir.
No. I was tortured that whole time, and then I had 3 surgeries here. I tore my hip, my groin, real bad. Never had surgery. Probably should have. I'm gonna need a new hip soon. I had this thing worked on. I had a full tear here, partial tear in my bicep, 2 tears here, and a full tear in the back. Mm-hmm. So 4 different surgeries, and I went through all that. That's just on this arm. I had a fracture and dislocation here when I was in high school as well. So that doesn't. I don't know. It was a mess. So you got to think the amount of pain medicine that I was always taking. And I was still working out, doing physical therapy every day, just constant stress on my body. Just, all this physical therapy was the worst. And I was tortured. I ended up with, they call it H. pylori. Who knows what it was. I have vasovagal syncope in here where my esophagus squeezes on all this and it cuts off blood in my brain, so I pass out. And it doesn't really happen very much anymore. But it was exacerbated with my stomach issues. And H. pylori shuts off. It opens up this the esophagus, the sphincter in your esophagus. Well, that tube, it opens it up and then it closes off the one that leads into your intestines. So that cycle of food just goes and then shoots back up. So I couldn't hold food down. I was in and out of the hospital like a dozen times in 2 years. I mean, you've got Ireland, Brazil, New York, California, Orange County, San Diego, like all over the place. And I was a mess. I couldn't fight. I finally left the UFC after 6 failed attempts at fighting, and I just said, you know what, like, this isn't working. And I figured, I was broke, so I needed to fight. Japan came calling, and greener pastures sort of thing. Yeah. But at that point, I wasn't getting drug tested, so I could take pills while I was fighting, and it wasn't good. And
what toll did the weight cut take on you? Because I read some stories. I think it was one of your last fights in the UFC. I think they had canceled it. Something had happened backstage around weigh-in time, and I think I was reading that. Yeah, I mean, now that I know with all the stuff that you were going through beforehand and the way your body was kind of reacting, how bad did the weight cuts take toll on you during those times?
Whenever I would have a really stressful week, I'd end up in the hospital.
Okay.
That's just how it was. And cutting weight was so bad. I would think about it. Think of the stress. I would get down to 125 pounds, and I'd always end up making scratch weight just because I'm a professional. And I would, once the stomach issues got real bad, I would cut the weight and make it, and then I would go back and I would start eating and drinking, and I wouldn't be able to hold it down. Like in Ireland, for instance, or New York, whatever. I would the next day I hadn't put on any weight. I think I put on at one point I had put on 1 pound.
Oh, wow.
24 hours later, which people usually put on 20 pounds.
Oh, yeah,
and then, I ended up getting IVs, and then I think like whatever it was later, I think I had only put on 5 pounds in 2 days. Okay. And that's because I couldn't keep anything down, and 4 of those pounds were IV. Like I could not eat. I could not keep food down. I would throw up everything. It was violent. It was just, it was the worst thing, and it was rough, man.
I remember the time when you kind of announced it. I think I was reading about it, and me just being selfish, I was pretty upset because I'm like, he's not going to fight anymore. So I'm not going to say I wasn't excited when I saw you were going back for Risen, but again, it's the selfishness. yeah, like to me, I like to call it the BJ Penn factor, right? Huge BJ Penn fan, but when I see him making fights now, and I got nothing but respect for the guy, I think he's a legend. But when I see him signing fights now, I don't get excited. I'm more like I don't want to see this anymore. Like my heart can't take it as a fan to see this happen to BJ Penn again and again and again.
Try
So the
being his
same.
friend.
What's
Try,
oh
try, try, try. You know, when I go to Hawaii, I stay at his house. I love his kids. Like I know his ex-wife. I know his
yeah.
parents. I look at these old people. Even like Glover Teixeira, who just became the #1 contender in the world at 40
Oh yeah.
with an amazing. I mean, he looked good. I'm so proud, but at the same time, I
Yeah,
look
he
at my
looked real
friends.
sharp.
I'm like, I go, guys. I was the baby of the group. I was the young one, and I retired. It's
Mhm.
too. It's too. What the fuck are you doing,
Yeah.
guys? I'm already showing you that like I have ways to fix us, but it's just. But again, you have Glover pulling that off, and
Yeah.
BJ is the most talented individual physically I've ever run into. I mean, he's a freak, and he's just an incredible creature, and I love him to death. But yeah, I see this crazy shit he's doing, and I'm like I just
Yeah, it's
you
hard to
know
watch. But I mean, like
it,
I said, with you, I was upset. I was mad because just growing up a fan, and I wish I would have got into it when I was much younger. I honestly didn't. I probably got into the UFC as far as like actually paying attention. Um, Probably around the GSP years, right? That's when I kind of got more into where I was, paying attention to the fighters and all that kind of stuff. But my buddy who's been into it forever, he would always tell me like, man, the best thing was in the old days. You as a fan, you go to a fight and you're at the club and you got Rampage is chilling and Vanderlei's over here, so it's like to be able to see all these guys that you're huge fans of and they're just chilling, like no security around them, they're just there. So I wish I would have gotten to a little bit. That would have been nice to be able to hang out with people.
I mean, it was a. I was obsessed again. I was looking for this my whole life. Dude, the old club stuff was so crazy because we would walk in and you'd have these nightclubs, and I mean, being a trusted person, it was always like, here, hold this, and there's a check or there's cash of like 10, 20 grand just for showing up at a nightclub.
Nice.
That's the first stop of the night, where we've got room for 40 people of our closest friends, which turns into 80 into a VIP area, and then that crew all goes back to some nightclub where you're getting another stack of cash. I mean, the Wild West days of MMA when Chuck was on top.
Mm-hmm.
Man, those days were insane. Like
Yeah.
literally, before I was 20 years old, I had done everything any young male individual would ever want to do in Las Vegas, flying privately. And like, if I couldn't get into a nightclub, there was Chuck was like, you two, go back to the room and drink some Dom with Cristal, and they come back into a nightclub, and I'm from the nightclub, and I'm spraying champagne all over naked women, and in some giant suite in Las Vegas. It was fucking madness.
This is all before you were 21, before you're even legal to do anything in Vegas.
Oh yeah, before like it was crazy, and I mean, I'm happy it's over, to be honest. It was a long ride, and I just go. I get to see my friends. I saw everyone in Huntington Beach the other day. 2 days ago. Yeah, and it's good to see everybody. We're getting old. This isn't getting any easier for us guys. We can't.
Yeah.
We just don't do that anymore.
Yeah, and it's a different mentality, just kind of looking at things. But so that brings us to today. Obviously, you look happy. You look like you're doing something that you absolutely love to do. And even better, I mean, you're helping other people while you're doing it, right? Does that make it?
This is my true calling.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Because you kind of go through things, and I tell people, my nephew's on the younger side, but I tell them like, man, you don't really know what you want to do. You might think this is where I want to be when you're 18 or 19, but you develop so much as a person, and what you really want to do, or what you feel like you said your true calling is, that might not hit you till late 20s, man, early 30s, to where you really want to be in life. So it's a constant evolution, man. It's a constant change. And I like where you're going. Here's what I want to do next. So, all right. So I'm going to give you 10 questions. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this sort of a lightning round. You don't have to answer them super fast if you don't want to. These are just a random 10 questions. Some serious stuff, some not so serious stuff. But here's what I got. Question 1. What is the worst advice someone's ever given you?
Oh man, advice. Worst.
The worst. Can you take this?
No. That's fine. I'm cool with that. Because that's always led to crazy, extremely entertaining stories. So, people feel like I have a blinking light above my head that says, "Oh, chill out," But man, you just you better fall in line. You better just act like everybody else, sort of thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like, fuck you. No, I never have, and I never will. Sorry, I'm not sorry.
It's not for some people. Some people can live perfectly fine lives, but some people, yeah, it's not. All right, question 2. If not fighting, then what? I mean, I feel like you found what you're doing now, right?
It would have been comedy, to be honest.
Okay.
I wanted to be, the 3 things I wanted to be as a kid was I wanted to be a scientist, some sort of scientist in the rainforest, which I'm sure would have led me back to psychedelics. I know for sure. So I would have been taking ayahuasca in the Amazon.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to be a stand-up comedian, and these 2 were before fighting.
Okay.
And then I found UFC, and it was I want to be the best in the world at fighting.
Have you done any open mics? Dabbled anything like that?
Oh yeah, I'm a. The comedian said I can say I'm a comedian, but I haven't even written a thing down since Corona happened, because it's had to take a back seat because I'm working on my psychedelics. So I'm a hobby comic. I have a good an okay 10 minutes. I've done for a while I was doing probably 3 to 5 a week. So it's something I take serious. I mean, you ask comedians in SoCal and in Orange County, LA, I do the work. Like I take it serious. I hang out with comedians. So it probably would have been comedy, which again would have led me back to the psychedelics. I'm in Hollywood. I grew up an hour from LA, so and my family had a business in downtown. My brother lived there. All my friends were there. It's just it would have been a natural progression for sure to be there.
Oh yeah, and to get that blessing from comedians, that's huge.
Oh dude, they're so fucking mean. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah.
And like I want them to talk shit to me. I think at first when I came around, they were like, "Hey, this douchebag," like muscles and. Like I would have some beautiful woman show up with me, and he's like, "This dick," and I'm like, "Okay, hold on." When they realize that I'm open to them talking shit, giving me advice, and me just listening because I need. They're better than me, and now at least we're on equal ground. This isn't some fist fight or race or physical activity. We are on completely equal ground, and plus, I really like weirdos. I love very strange individuals. And if you go to an open mic, they are the lowest of the weirdest of the strangest fucking people, and they see how much I adore them, and I love being around them. So it's like I would rather hang out with them than at some other douchey nightclub or some shit. These are my people.
Yeah, I'm not a nightclub type of guy. All right, question 3: dogs or cats?
Oh man, so I never had animals my whole life. I mean, my ex-wife had a couple dogs and a cat, and I just the one dog I did kind of start to have feelings with was my dog Manson. I have him tattooed on my lip. He died after like 6 months, and I remember named after Charlie Manson because my ex-wife is a fan. She has Helter Skelter on her hands. But right now, my girlfriend and her kids have 2 cats, and I've fallen in love with these cats. I've been bonded with them, and I really want to get a dog. I'm actually looking into getting a biodiverse farm that we can have out here because I want to be away from people. But also so I can have a dog. I want to buy a wolf. To be honest, I really want a wolf.
Oh man!
It's just calling me, but some sort of big dog that if I'm not at my house, because I can physically eat someone. I've always put it out there, like I could physically I could end someone's life and eat them really quick. Mm-hmm. if I'm not there, I want something else that's there, that's roughly my size, that can do the exact same thing.
Yeah, you want that same presence of fear. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I, the people around me, I protect them. I'm a protector. I have to make sure they're safe, and that's just
someone's got to do it.
how
I
look at it.
Yeah. All right.
So I'll get back to you on the dog thing. I need a dog.
All right. 4, charcoal or propane?
Charcoal. Well, I mean, I have a Traeger, so it's all about wood pellet,
Smoking,
technology.
I've dabbled in this. I'm getting a little bit better with my smoking, but I'm not on the Traeger level yet. I'm working my way up.
Well,
all right.
You know what? I haven't been cooking my Traegers in my house, and I have to just take it apart and bring it over here. But they have a smoker in the backyard. I haven't used it yet, so I need to do that.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit up there, so I got to build my way up there. Number 5, do you believe that dreams have significance in your life?
Of course. Dreams, visions, that stuff's important, and you need to believe in that sort of stuff. It's I have conversations about portals and other dimensions. I've been working in this industry every day, literally every day.
Yeah.
And people who say they're aliens and that they've come from other planets, guess what? I can't argue with them because I've seen other portals and dimensions and sentient beings and McKenna's elves or whatever it is. So that stuff, it has meaning. So look into it. There's stuff I can't explain it that well. So there's better for that.
I've heard the stories, and from other people, taking either mushrooms or LSD or was it ayahuasca, stuff like that. The whole opening up the third eye type of thing, and seeing, it's intriguing. I'll give it that.
Yeah. It's that I mean, even things like hape or RAPE. It spells like rape, but it has a little thing on the end. On the E, hape. It's a Portuguese word, or native word from the Amazon. It's naturally grown, or jungle grown tobacco and some herbs, spices stuff they put in there. And a shaman will put it in this little thing and blow at your nose. And you want a pineal gland decalcifier? That stuff's intense, and it's natural. It's legal. You can order it off the internet. I mean, you can order a lot of stuff off the internet. People have no idea. Amanita muscaria mushrooms, which they're legal in the U.S. I think except in one state, and those are different. I wouldn't recommend anyone doing those for their first time. Please don't. I'm begging you. Please don't do that for your first trip. But you can order mad honey from Nepal. Mad honey from Nepal is from the rhododendron. The bees get the pollen from there, and they go back to their honey, and it becomes psychedelic. I can't think of the chemical compound. But in the Amanita muscaria, it's muscarine. It's not muscarine. I think that's how you pronounce it. That's not even it's regular mushrooms. It's psilocybin. So it's different.
There is options. All right, number 6. And I feel like you got a lot of these, so I want you to kind of try to find the best one. And if you want to shorten it up, you can. If not, don't worry about it. Give me your favorite behind-the-scenes moment as far as with your career, as far as fighting MMA, UFC. Doesn't have to be about you. Could be some cool stuff you saw somebody else see or do. You know what I mean? Give me your favorite moment, a little behind the scenes.
You know what? It's fan interaction. It's seeing these fans and how they react. I mean, whether it's, even me, and I was never that big of a deal, but I just had I still have a great fan. Having people cry, kids cry or young ladies cry when they see me, or just people get so excited, handicapped people, anyone.
Yeah.
Like, having someone like Chuck Liddell in my life, my girlfriend noticed it the other day, and we were in downtown Huntington Beach. She just rented a big ass house down the street. We're like, no, let's go downtown and see people, just be out. He took every picture. I mean, he interacts, he talks with everybody. Random annoying fans that are just so excited that we're like, yo, we're having a private dinner. He'll get up and leave the table and just talk because he loves it. And I say annoying. I mean, like drunk people, not just if you're a fan and you're excited. That's not annoying. But those interactions, I took to heart, and that you talk to everybody, you sign every autograph, you take every picture, you hug every person, because dude, it makes you feel so good. Oh my God, it makes you feel good, and it makes these people feel just as good or better. So it's like that's the coolest thing to be honest.
Well, even
with any athlete.
yeah, I mean, even with you, you know, I reached out to. I mean, I'm not afraid to just ask people. I reached out
Yeah.
to when I first decided, hey, I want to do this this whole Zoom thing. I reached out to a whole bunch of people. I got left on red a lot, but I mean, I think you responded within a day or so. I'm like, oh man, like this is amazing, like really easy, right? So and it does, like it makes me feel good as a fan to know that you guys do appreciate it. Number 7, give me your favorite curse word.
Favorite curse word?
Yes, sir.
Oh man, my old favorite curse word was cunt, just because it was the most offensive to people in America.
Definitely.
But man, here, that was because I was just trying to be insensitive. I've realized that just the interaction, especially with females, because
Mhm.
I have a daughter. I'm trying to teach against this
Okay.
toxic masculinity thing, which I used to laugh at. You know, this is so stupid. I'm a man. I'm a badass. You know,
Yeah. Bravado.
gentlemen, we cannot act that way anymore. They figured, the women, the females figured out, or whatever you want to be called, it's figured out that we're all equal. We can't do that anymore. So you can still be a badass man who gets chicks and drives a fast car and drinks beer or whatever, and still be a nice dude.
Yeah.
So I took that word out of my usage, my bad word, set. I would just say fucking, because there's so many fucking. Uh, you can use that word in so many different ways, and it's not really offensive. It's just to heighten the sense of something.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it makes things so much better. Yeah, it brings it up a notch. Yeah.
This
Okay.
fucking person, or oh my god, this is so fucking good. Or I fucking love you, baby. It's just, it adds a little oomph on everything.
Oh yeah, yeah. This next one, I wanted to ask you earlier because it was kind of around time, but like I said, I had pre-written down all these questions. Going back to what you were saying with Corey Beasley, what is the best way to deal with failure? What have you learned for yourself?
Learn. Don't just fail. Don't let it get you. Cannot have an emotional response to something that happens to you that's bad. Or, well, good, yeah, because you're not going to have a negative emotional response. Or if you do have that response, learn to absorb it, feel it, and use it. Use it to learn, because you have to go over what happened wrong. You have to analyze it. You have to compartmentalize it. And whether that's just doing it on your own or taking psychedelics or whatever way you can make that happen, do it. Because you have to turn it into a learning experience. And there's so many modalities there. There's so many different ways. Some people are all about Jesus. Some people are all about atheism or science or whatever. There's so many ways to skin a cat, I guess we'll say.
Definitely, yeah, definitely. All right, favorite fighter. This is a 2-part question. Favorite fighter of all time, dead or alive. Part 2, would you fight him or her? 2020.
Oh, growing up, it was, we'll say, was Sakuraba,
Mm-hmm.
and no, I wouldn't fight Sakuraba.
All right.
I think I have the perfect style to whoop his ass if we were the same size. And I saw that happen too many times in the band, and I love it. I don't miss him. But BJ Penn, he's a good friend of mine. And I've had him. We have beaten the shit out of each other. I went out to Hawaii to train with him for a bit, and we finished building his dojo in Waipio Valley, which is like sacred ground. And of course, we do it, and he goes, "Want to bless it with blood? Want to bless the dojo with blood?" And we beat the hell out of each other. Just him and I. We had some guy, some tweaker dude that lived down in the valley, timing us, and we spent like an hour bludgeoning each other. It cut my eyebrow. We just, that was such a fun time.
Well, I'm on a tangent off that because there's something that goes with that, right? As far as like mentally, because I growing up and just doing the everyday life, normal things, I feel like there's got to be something to getting punched in the face, man. Like mentally, spiritually, getting cut open, feeling that pain. You know what I mean? Feeling that you're alive and you got hit, but you're still standing. You know what I mean? You agree with that?
Oh, we are, as fighters, or most athletes, we're tortured individuals. We are. humans are tortured individuals. We just found an outlet, a physical outlet where we can push ourselves past the brink of exhaustion and push ourselves that far because the release of positive chemicals in your brain is incredible. And for a brief moment in time, you feel good. You're getting this dopamine response out of this. And sure, working out will help you with the serotonin response as well, which is what psychedelics does. It's why it's so much more healthy for your body. But that chemical cascade after that is so important for us. That's why people need to work out, and not into the depths of hell to torture you, make it a torturing type of thing, but just go walk, get outside, especially in the morning between 7 and 9 when you get that blue light. That circadian rhythm on point. Like get out there and do something physical, because it's especially if you're depressed and you're out of shape. This is what you need to do because you're immunocompromised and you're stuck inside, and you I hate to say it this way, but you are going to die. There's something out there that's trying to kill you. It's called a virus. And whether it's man-made or there's some craziness behind it, that's not the point. It's real and it's happening. And this isn't the first one or the last one. So please get healthy. Please get healthy, because we're going to be burying many more of you if we don't change. You don't change.
I agree. Yeah, it's you definitely got to get out there and do it. Last one, and this is something it's kind of divided America for some time. Pineapple on pizza. What do you think? Yes or no?
Hawaiian pizza is one of my favorite. I love it.
I agree. I'm with it. I never understood the naysaying of it. You know what I mean? And why? Why are we picking on pineapple all of a sudden?
People don't like change, man. That's all.
That's 100% true. All right, awesome. Well, those are the 10. This last part, I want you to tell the people, man. Talk to the people about what you got going on. Drop whatever websites you want to drop. Anything that you want to plug, or just give them a brief detail. I know we talked more a lot about it, about the coaching and all that, but let the people know what they need to know.
Okay, so we'll go over this South Orange County Psychedelic Integration Circle. Again, it's wordy. There's a point to that. I don't want everyone there. And go check it out if you want more information on psychedelics, on everything. I posted on there. My girlfriend was also an administrator. She posts stuff on there. And we're just trying to educate everybody, giving them the things to look at to educate themselves. We start there. Then if you want to go check out my Instagram, it's Uncle Creepy MMA is all my social media. That's just for general life. But if you want to look into psychedelics and performance, I have themccallmethod.com or themccallmethod on all social media. And if you're looking for a psychedelic integration coach, it doesn't have to be me. But I have a lot of people I can direct you in the right direction, because it's beneficial. And again, not everyone can afford like $1,000 a month or whatever it is, or whatever, just integration coaching, but we can work something out, because everyone deserves this. Like I said, I make it out and sound fancy, like I only work with these celebrity types. Psychedelic integration coaches work with everybody. Always know that. And there's so much variety in even the small amount of people that do it. So reach out and we will help you in every way, shape we can. And thank you for listening and being part of the movement.
Awesome. Well, thanks. Well, that's it, everybody. Mr. Ian McCall. We'll go ahead and we'll end it there, brother. Hey, man, thank you so much. I truly, as a fan, man, I truly do appreciate you just responding and coming on.